Good evening. Thanks for joining us on Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Stocks rally across the world as the US Senate clears a major hurdle, paving the way to end the government shutdown. But the deal does not address demands on healthcare made by the Democrats. At 41 days, the current shutdown is the longest in US history. The Sensex and the Nifty snap a three-day losing streak, but the large street underperforms global markets as the gains remain limited. Mid-caps marginally outperform the blue chips.
3, 2, 1.
Well, Lenskart debuts on the large street. The stock lists at a 2% discount to the issue price despite strong demand from retail and institutional investors. The stock ends the day barely in the green after a roller coaster ride.
So in the days and months to come, you will see a series of reform measures relating to ease of doing business.
Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister and former RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das hints at more reforms, promises a series of measures to boost the ease of doing business in the coming days. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive.
अभी जो आप इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देख रहे हैं ये केवल ट्रेलर है, असली पिक्चर अभी बाकी है.
With civic body elections looming in Mumbai and Maharashtra, Chief Minister Fadnavis promises to double down on infrastructure, plans to build a third airport for Mumbai at Vadhavan Port, which will be India's first offshore port. That's another exclusive. The Supreme Court agrees to hear a petition on the use and regulation of artificial intelligence. The government has proposed to amend the current laws to ensure labelling of AI-generated content. IT Secretary Krishnan says there is no need for a separate law as of now, and the focus is on leaving room for innovation. Delhi air quality hovers in the very poor category despite a marginal improvement over the weekend. The Delhi police cracks down on protesters, including children, on Sunday after they gathered at India Gate demanding urgent government action against the air emergency. Police claim only those blocking traffic were detained and later released. The loudspeakers have fallen silent in Bihar. 122 assembly seats will vote in the second and final phase tomorrow. Votes will be counted on Friday. Rich countries have lost the enthusiasm to combat climate change, says the head of COP30 Climate Summit, which kicks off in Brazil today. Policymakers from 194 countries set to attend. Dozens of state and local leaders in the US will attend the summit, even as President Trump decides to stay away. Well, the big global story moving the market, stocks are rallying across large parts of Asia and Europe amidst hopes that the US government shutdown could end. Now, the South Korean Kospi rallied by over 3% today. Shares in Japan and Hong Kong also gained over 1%, and the European markets are rallying as we speak. The US Senate has passed the first stage of a deal that could put an end to the longest-running government shutdown. At least 8 Democrats backed the agreement proposed by the Republicans, but this deal does not address demands on health care made by Democrats. The bill will now proceed to the House of Representatives for approval before being sent to the president for his signature. The agreement proposed by the Republicans will fund some parts of the federal government, including food aid, veterans programs, and the legislative branch, among others, and extend the federal funding until the 30th of January.
So there was no vote that we were going to get on the Affordable Care Act, premium tax credits. We have a guaranteed vote by a guaranteed date on a bill that we will write. Not that the Republicans will write, although I do think it's important for us to engage with them, because we need a bipartisan bill that we know is going to get enacted to provide the relief that Americans need. And I think there's a commitment on the part of many of our colleagues to do that.
Well, the longest-running US government shutdown possibly now coming to an end. Meanwhile, the Indian markets underperformed global peers. Despite snapping the three-day losing streak, the large street managed to clock only marginal gains today. Nifty closing about 80 points higher, 300 points higher on the Sensex. The Nifty Bank absolutely flat in the mid-cap index, put on about 0.5% at close. IT stocks led the up move today. Banks underperformed the blue chips, with the Nifty Bank index ending flat, but with a slight positive bias. Now, eyewear company Lenskart listed at a 2% discount to the IPO price. The stock staged a recovery, but gave up most of those gains towards the end of trade, ending marginally in the green. The issue was subscribed 28 times during its IPO stage on the back of strong demand from retail and institutional investors. Mangalam joins us now with more on Lenskart's The Large Street debut. Mangalam, perhaps one of the most talked about IPOs in recent times. Take us through what the market now makes of the Lenskart story post the listing.
It was an interesting day for trade, day one for Lenskart. You know, the question always, a good business, but at what price? And it opened understandably slightly softer because of the little value left on the table, but thereafter, because of the inherent strength of the business, there were some buyers. But remember, this is day one of an issue where only 15% of the equity was allowed to be traded, as against 85%, which is locked in for trade opens over the next months or so. But be that as it may, you know, can't take away from the fact that there was strong demand for the IPO, 28 times subscription, and the issue was overall subscribed by more than 40 times by the by the QIPs and 18 times by the HNIs. Remember, it is a company that we all know of, sells and manufactures eyewear across, sells in across 2150 stores in India, and 40% of its revenues coming from abroad as well. At the same time, the underlying total addressable market, as per them, in India is 80,000 crores, likely to be about 1,50,000 crores over the next 5 years. International as well, 1,60,000 crores, likely to turn into 2,11,000 crores. In India, they are 2.5 times larger than the other nearest national player, and the organized sector is projected to grow nearly 60% faster than unorganized as well. But then again, the question, at what price? Because the first quarter, the revenues were close to 2,000 crores with 17.5% margins and a net profit of 61 times. The company, which was offered at 10.8 times trailing sales and 234 times trailing price to earnings, now even if you analyze the first quarter numbers, would be well over 200 times 1 year forward earnings. So let's see where it goes from here on.
What will it take for us to create global companies? I think the most important thing is belief. Today, about 40% of our revenue comes from international markets. What we have achieved so far is a very small portion of what we intend to do. We want to give a vision to 1 billion people. We have given it to only about 25 million people so far, right? So there is a lot more to do ahead.
Well, that's Lenskart's Piyush Bansal speaking to us at the Global Leadership Summit, the stock listing today on Dalal Street. The IPO offering of Pine Labs was subscribed 48% on the second day of bidding. As of 4 p.m., the portion reserved for retail investors was booked 84%, while QIB portion was subscribed 54%. The company's 3,900 crore rupee IPO comprises a fresh issue of 2,000 crore rupees and an offer for sale component of over 8 crore shares. Sugar stocks gained in trade after the government over the weekend approved exports up to 1.5 million tons this year. The allocation is, however, lower than the 2 million ton demanded by industry. The Union Food Ministry has also decided to remove the 50% export duty on molasses. The Food Secretary had recently said that the government was considering allowing sugar exports due to the accumulation of surplus stocks. All of those stocks closing much higher. Look at that, 6.5% higher there for Balrampur Chini. President Trump has defended his tariff policy yet again. He claimed that levies made America the richest country in the world. The president called the people criticizing the tariffs, I quote, as fools, and promised that Americans will receive dividends of $2,000 each from the tariff revenue soon. His comments came after the Supreme Court questioned the legality of the tariffs while hearing a case last week. In August, a federal appeals court ruled that President Trump overstepped his authority with the imposition of tariffs. The US Supreme Court is yet to deliver its verdict on the matter. And staying with tariffs, the 50% US tariffs on India have made tyre exports unsustainable, says Raghupati Singhania of GK Tyre. Speaking exclusively to Parikshit Luthra, Singhania said unless the trade deal offers tariffs lower than other Asian nations, Indian tyre companies will have to find new export markets. Here's Raghupati Singhania.
If it is in 50% range, I don't think we are going to make it. Because a US importer, why will he import a product or buy a product 50% or let's say 40% higher than somebody else when the performance are similar? I mean, you can always claim a particular brand is better or so. So why should anybody do it? So we have, as a industry, as a company, formed a strategy, alternate strategy. Couple of things. We are now catering to the US market more through our Mexican operations. From India, we are looking to alternate markets. We are developing Europe. There is a balance created, equilibrium created in the troubled waters when such things happen. So in a course of a year or so, I think things will settle down.
Well, that's Raghupati Singhania on the impact of US tariffs. India's most influential thought leaders converged in Mumbai on Friday for the CNBC-TV18 Global Leadership Summit. We spoke with 50 stalwarts across sectors from sports to business to policy making to decode how the India advantage can reap rich dividends. Maharashtra's Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis was one of our speakers. With civic body elections looming in Mumbai and Maharashtra, Fadnavis promised to double down on infrastructure. Taking a cue from the hit Shah Rukh Khan movie Om Shanti Om, Fadnavis reflected the work done so far was only a trailer and picture abhi baaki hai.
अभी जो आप इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देख रहे हैं ये केवल ट्रेलर है, असली पिक्चर अभी बाकी है। आप जब ये वर्ली बांद्रा सीलिंग से बांद्रा में आते हैं तो अभी हम लोगों का एक प्लान चल रहा है कि हम बांद्रा से सीधा एक टनल ये बीकेसी में लाएंगे और बीकेसी से सीधा उस टनल को हम एयरपोर्ट ले जाएंगे, तो जिसमें आपको उसके बाद ये जो बीकेसी का जो कंजेशन है और वेस्टर्न एक्सप्रेसवे का जो कंजेशन है वो ख़त्म हो जाएगा। ये जिस दिन तैयार होगा उस दिन वाडभन पोर्ट ये दुनिया के पहले 10 पोर्ट में होगा और अगले 30 साल 40 साल महाराष्ट्र और देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को और जो एक प्रकार से उसकी अगुवाई ये वाडभन पोर्ट करेगा। ऑलमोस्ट एवरी डिस्ट्रिक्ट विल बी कनेक्टेड विद अ सुपर एक्सप्रेसवे विद द वाडभन पोर्ट। तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो एक ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन में हम लोग एक भूमिका निभाना चाहते हैं उसके लिए वाडभन पोर्ट और जो हमारे हाईवेज ये जो इकोसिस्टम हम तैयार कर रहे हैं ये इकोसिस्टम पूरे तरीके से इसको बदल देगी।
Well, that's the Maharashtra Chief Minister. And as other headliner, Second Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister and former RBI Governor Shaktikanta was honoured for his contribution to the Indian economy at the CNBC-TV18 Global Leadership Summit. During his acceptance speech, Das hinted at more reforms from the government in the coming days.
Next-gen GST reforms, which were undertaken recently, the Prime Minister talked about it on 15th of August from Red Fort, and within 5 weeks, on 22nd of December, the next-gen GST reforms were implemented with the cooperation of all the states. Several reforms this year have been undertaken, not only in GST, but also in non-financial sector deregulation, for which a high-level committee has been appointed. So in the days and months to come, you will see a series of reform measures relating to ease of doing business, relating to making Indian economy more competitive. All these measures will follow.
Well, that is the former RBI governor promising more reforms. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive that we're breaking this evening. CarTrade Tech is set to be in final stages to acquire CarDekho. Rachna Dhanrajani joins us now with more. Rachna, take us through the possibility of this deal coming through and what the rationale is behind it.
Yeah, sure. My colleague Vivek and I have gathered from our respective sources that CarTrade Tech is in advanced stages to acquire CarDekho. This move could be a defining consolidation move in India's digital auto space. Now, the deal sources say will be structured as a mix of cash and stock, and the intent behind this is to create the country's largest digital auto platform, bringing together new and used car marketplaces, financing and insurance all under one umbrella. Now, CarDekho was last valued at $1.2 billion back in 2021 when it raised funds from investors like Sequoia and Leapfrog. In the financial year 2024, the CarDekho group reported revenues of over 2,000 crore rupees and a standalone profit of about 37 crore rupees. The financials for FY25 aren't made public. While CarDekho has declined to comment on the development, CarTrade has not yet responded to CNBC-TV18's queries. But if this deal goes through, it will reshape India's online marketplace, combining two of the biggest homegrown platforms and potentially setting the stage for a stronger play against global and local competitors in the digital mobility ecosystem. Back to you.
All right, Rachna, many thanks for joining us. That's a deal likely in the making. Time for us to head into a short break, but up next, Delhi's air quality hovers in the very poor category despite a marginal improvement over the weekend. That and more when we return. The Supreme Court will hear a public interest litigation on the use and regulation of artificial intelligence. The court is set to hear the case after 2 weeks. Chief Justice Bihar remarked that judges are well aware of the misuse of AI and have seen morphed pictures of themselves on social media. The government has proposed amending the current IT rules to ensure labelling of all AI-generated content. The draft rules are currently open for public comments. In fact, the Secretary at the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, S. Krishnan, while speaking to me, says that there is no need for a separate law to regulate AI as of now. He believes India must focus on leaving room for innovation and that the government will use existing laws to address problematic elements if necessary. Take a look.
Government's objective and MeitY's objective is primarily to focus on innovation and give room for innovation. And regulation comes after that. What we have made very clear is that we believe we have a very positive outlook on AI and the impact that it could have for India and for the globe. And therefore, we need to give as much space as possible for innovation to play out in this space. And as with all technologies, there will be elements which are problematic and which could potentially be issues. And wherever those issues arise, wherever there are potential harms, we will use both existing legal frameworks.
Well, no need for a specific AI-linked regulation. That is S. Krishnan, the Secretary. Speaking of AI, actor and entrepreneur Deepika Padukone says her voice and accent were mocked when she entered the industry, and now, ironically, she's the voice of Meta AI. Speaking to me, Padukone said the only thing AI will not be able to replace is human emotion. Fashion designer Sabyasachi Mukherjee also weighed in on the AI debate, adding that the technology will not be able to replace humans.
Interesting also, no, that I'm someone whose voice was like sort of mocked when I came into the industry, and now suddenly I'm the voice of Meta AI. Strange.
Well done.
But and my accent, but I continue to own it, and I think that's probably how and why it happened. But I mean, what do I think about it?
Yeah.
AI or how?
AI. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of disruptions on account of it, including what is likely to happen to the film and entertainment world. People are now talking about dishing out AI movies in a matter of days, forget weeks or months. You know, so as somebody from the industry, do you see that as an exciting opportunity? Do you see that as a threat?
No, I'm so excited about the possibilities. The only thing I'm not sure about, I'm not saying. Actually, I'm going to say that with a lot of confidence because I truly believe it. The only thing I believe it cannot replace is human emotion. I think that's the only place AI will not be allowed or will not be able to match up. Can it do a similar job? Yes, maybe. Maybe it's not there yet. I don't know. So barring human emotion and how an actor would emote, because you can't infuse soul into AI.
You know, Sabya, are you equally excited, or do you also look at it with some trepidation and nervousness? Because, you know, you can churn out designs quite literally in a matter of seconds. There's existential questions being asked of the film world, of the entertainment world, of us in the media world, you know, of ad agencies and so on and so forth. So how do you look at what's happening in AI and what it means for human creativity?
See, two things. Firstly, the human mind will constantly evolve. Secondly, AI is necessary for many things to drive efficiency in fields where efficiency is required. But in art and craft and in the business of emotions, like we say, whether it's fashion, architecture, food, films, I think AI will never be able to replace human beings.
Well, the AI debate rages on. The loudspeakers, meanwhile, have fallen silent in Bihar ahead of the second and final phase of the election tomorrow. 122 assembly seats will go to the polls and the votes will be counted on Friday. The first phase recorded a voter turnout of 65%. In the 2020 polls, the BJP won 42 out of these 122 seats. The JDU won 20 seats, the RJD won 33 seats, and the Congress clinched 11 seats. The air quality in Delhi continues to remain in the very poor category despite a slight improvement over the weekend. Several areas including Pusa Road, RK Puram, Chandni Chowk, Shadipur, Punjabi Bagh and Munkar recorded AQI levels well above the 300 mark. Several people were detained yesterday after gathering at India Gate for a clean air protest. Police reportedly asked the demonstrators to move their protest to Jantar Mantar, but when they refused, a few were detained to clear the blocked road. Timsy joins us now with the latest from Mausam Bhavan in central Delhi. Timsy, some measures being announced by the government to stagger office timings of government offices, etc. But, no respite for Delhiites.
Delhi NCR's air quality continues to remain in the very poor category. CAQM met last evening and did not decide to go ahead with GRAP 3, rather continued with GRAP 2 phase, considering that the AQI levels on an average did not cross 400. It usually shows the AQI readings, but today it is showing only the weather report. That was captured at Safdarjung station, where today's forecast in Delhi, it says mainly clear sky. Central Pollution Control Board's app, which actually shows live reading of AQI, and at this location live, currently the AQI, the air quality is at 345. It says very poor. Over the last 3 days, this is today's average of Delhi, 345, which is under very poor category. And over the last 3 days, yesterday it was 370, day before, yesterday was 361, and the day before that, that is 7th of November, it was 322. And this is the reason why CAQM last evening did not go ahead with GRAP 3. It waited till GRAP 2 only. Severe category kicks in, the GRAP 3 stage kicks in only once the average AQI crosses 400 level. And as of now, the Mausam Bhavan board, which usually shows AQI, is currently displaying only the weather report. It is not showing the current AQI readings.
Well, you may not be able to read the AQI reading on the Mausam Bhavan display board, but it's there available with many devices, and it's there to experience for all of Delhi's citizens. In international headlines, Hamas has handed over the remains of an Israeli soldier who was killed in Gaza in 2014. The release of his body was part of the ceasefire agreement signed in October. Reports suggest the US presidential advisor Jared Kushner arrived in Israel, where he is expected to meet with Israeli leaders to resolve issues related to the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Israel's attacks on Gaza continue over the weekend. As per the Palestinian Health Ministry, 1 person was killed, 5 others injured in Israeli attacks in the last 24 hours. From one war-torn region to another, the Russian Ministry of Defense has said its forces have captured a Ukrainian settlement in the southeastern part of the country. Russia has also attacked key power and energy infrastructure in Ukraine, with over 1 lakh people left without water or electricity. At least 11 people were killed after a boat carrying undocumented migrants from Malaysia sank near Thailand. Malaysian maritime border, 13 people have been rescued so far, while hundreds are still missing. According to Malaysian officials, the vessel was carrying around 300 people, mostly Rohingya refugees. At least 2 people have died after super typhoon Fong Wong made landfall in the Philippines overnight, unleashing fierce winds and torrential rain. The powerful storm caused widespread destruction, with landslides cutting off several towns and roofs ripped off buildings. Footage from affected areas shows shattered windows and debris strewn across streets. Authorities said more than 1 million people were evacuated ahead of the typhoon's landfall. And a powerful tornado accompanied by strong winds and heavy rains tore through southern Brazil, leaving 6 people dead and hundreds injured. The town of Rio Bonito was the hardest hit, with more than half of its urban area suffering roof collapses and widespread structural damage. Authorities say 437 people have been treated for injuries, while around 1,000 people have been displaced. Tornado hit Brazil is the venue of the annual climate summit. The world's biggest climate summit, COP30, has kicked off in the country. And the head of COP30 summit has said that rich countries have lost the enthusiasm to combat climate change. Policymakers from 194 countries will attend the conference. Dozens of state and local leaders in the US will attend the summit, even after President Trump decided to stay away. So COP30 underway in Brazil. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. We leave you with highlights of the CNBC-TV18 Global Leadership Summit. Plenty of action to catch up on.